On this episode of Rock Down South, we sit down with country artist Ashland Craft. She's an incredible talent, and we have a really good time chatting on this one. We hope you all enjoy. Let's go.
Hey y'all, it's Ashland Craft, and you are listening to Rock Down South.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Rock Down South, your home for rock and country music. I'm your host, Mark, and today we have an incredible show for y'all. We have country artist Ashland Craft in the house today. Ashland, how you doing, man?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
It's good. It's good to hear from you again. It's good to see you again. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
long time.
Yeah. So last time we saw each other, you played our 2024 Make-A-Wish Country Jam show in Atlanta near the ballpark in May.
Yes, sir.
But thank you so much for coming out to that. I'm not sure if you heard, but we officially raised $10,000 for Make-A-Wish kids in that
Oh,
event.
that is so amazing. That's what I was actually looking for earlier to try to figure out how much we ended up raising. So that is so good to hear.
Yeah, we just announced that I think a month or so ago, like the final total with the check amount. It takes a little while for it all to
Love
come
it.
in.
Well, thank y'all for letting me be a part. I sure do appreciate it. I love getting to do stuff for a great cause such as that. So really happy it worked out well.
Yeah, we'll have to do that again. But let's get into everything about you. Let's kind of start from the beginning. Let's talk a little bit early, Ashland Craft. Tell me about your background. I think you're originally from South Carolina, but tell me about growing up and doing all that sort of thing.
I am, yes. I'm originally from a place called Piedmont, South Carolina. That is like upstate, right below Greenville, South Carolina, about 10 minutes south. And it's there's only a couple stoplights there, not really much to do. It's kind of sandwiched between a couple of bigger cities, but so growing up was fairly simple life. Go to school, come home, play outside, all that fun stuff. I have two brothers, and I'm the middle child, only girl. So that was also a fun part of growing up, getting to do all the dirt bikes and the four wheelers and stuff
Oh,
like
wow.
that too. But yeah, like I said, we just had a fairly simple life, went to church, and I was in theater in school and did sports. And so, but music has always been such a common theme for me, no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing. And never really imagined that it was going to be like a career per se. I just knew it was always what drove me in life for some unknown reason. So, yeah, I think all of that kind of it was fun to do, and I think it just drilled in the fact more that I really wanted to do music. Once I got into high school, and then out of high school, I worked a couple of like jobs here and there, was a waitress for a bit, worked at McDonald's, and then Academy Sports and Outdoors and a factory for a little bit. And then I eventually ended up at a bar called Wendell's Dip and Branch playing in the house band, which was kind of my first step into real true live music outside of gigging by myself on my acoustic guitar. So that was really when I think things amped up, and it just kind of snowballed into what it is today, I'd say.
That's awesome. And is it true Bradley Jordan helped you out a little bit early in your career?
Bradley Jordan, yes. And I actually met him at Wendell's Dip and Branch when I had just started. I think I was about 19 years old, and he was friends with, I believe, the owner, Darlene, at the time. And he came to the Christmas party. I had just been hired there, so I was kind of like the I had to kind of felt I felt like I had to prove myself a little bit, but they got me up there to like sing a song during the Christmas party, and Bradley Jordan after that, you know, shook my hand and was so kind and being like, keep it up. I'd love to get you in some venues here and there around Georgia. And he was just always such a crucial link for me, I think, once I got, past the voice and was trying to make my shift into Nashville. So he has been such a key part. I'm so thankful for him. Yeah. And so he introduced me to Jonathan Singleton, Eric Dillon, Channing Wilson, so many people that I admire and still talk to and love to this day. So very, very thankful for him.
Yeah,
And
he's
Peachtree.
yeah, he's fantastic. I remember he told me the story about meeting you years ago, and I always thought that was kind of cool. And I was like, I'll have to ask her about that if I ever talk to her. But that's awesome.
Yeah. He told me whenever, basically, like, whenever you get serious about wanting to move to Nashville and do music, like, here's my number, just give me a call. And he was just very gracious and kind of guiding me through that whole up and coming music scene, so to speak. So
And you're
yeah,
pretty
he's
young around that time that you're playing at the different branch. Were you like 18, right?
yeah, I think I was like 18, just turned 19, somewhere around there, 19, 20. So I was very, very fresh. And I had just done hair school as well. I went to hair school to get my cosmetology license. And as I said, it all led back to music. So Wendell's was also such a key part of my career as well.
And how much time passed from when you started gigging there did you make the jump to actually living in Nashville?
Well, I worked there for a little bit, and then I believe, oh man, my timeline for back then is so like jumbled, but I want to say it was around then when I had done The Voice. And so after I'd finished The Voice, I kind of took like a year off and was trying to decide basically, sorry about the noise. I took a year off and was trying to decide basically what I was going to do, whether that was stay home or move to Nashville and officially try to do this as a career. So, yeah, I mean, I just took the leap of faith about, I'd say a little bit less than a year later, and I moved about 2019, I want to say, to Nashville. So
Wow.
it's been such a journey since then. It's all, um, they've all been building blocks along the way. So I'm really glad you brought up Bradley Jordan, him specifically.
I try to keep it a little bit fresh. I try to keep it not just the same questions that everybody asks. So
No, I
we'll,
love that.
yeah, yeah. So you moved to Nashville not too long after. So wow, that's really impressive. And I mean, with a talent like yours, I mean, I love your voice. I'm sure everybody says that. You probably get
Thank
that all
you.
the time. Um, have you ever had a time that you lost your voice where you're like, oh man, I kind of took it for granted that my voice, was always here and everybody says I have a good voice, but I might take it for granted that it's just kind of my norm until you have a week where you can't speak.
Yeah. Oh man, that's such a good question. There definitely are those moments when, you might catch something or catch a cold and you can't sing and you're like, "Oh my gosh, am I ever going to be able to sing again?" So it does really make you think, and I think that's something recently that I've thought a lot about. So it is funny you say that because I think back to always posting on social media and posting a lot of stuff, even covers or originals. I feel like I don't even do that anymore. So I think in those moments, it kind of makes you want to start doing it a little bit more again. So that's kind of one of my short-term goals is to start just being a little bit more active on social media when it comes to sharing music and hopefully not having that fear.
So speaking of losing your voice doing things, probably drinking and singing karaoke at the top of your lungs is probably up there with most people in Nashville that do it. But if you're going to be drunkenly singing karaoke, what's that song or songs or artist that come to your mind that you're like, I'm totally singing this one?
Oh man. Well, that for that reason of for the sake of not losing my voice, I've definitely tried to cut back on the drinking and the screaming, but we have those nights for sure. So I'd say when it comes to karaoke, oh man, it's definitely gonna have to be like the Judds, No One Else, or Winona, and then Why Not Me? That's another good one by them.
Nice.
And then also Bonnie Raitt, Something to Talk About is just one of my favorites to belt. So probably out of those 3 are my go-tos off the top of my head, but I know there's probably plenty, plenty more once I get going. I'm like, "Oh, what about this song? What about this song?"
That's funny. That's funny. Well, enough about other people's music. Let's talk about your music because you have a single that you put out at the end of August called Morning Person. Tell me about this one. This one's a little bit more kind of slowed down, maybe a little bit more sultry.
Yes, Morning Person is like I like to say it's my first official love song that I've released because I've not done that yet purposely, in a sense. Because I always wanted the first love song to be super meaningful and to also sit in a place that could stand for somebody who is not in love, but is looking for love, or somebody who is in love. So I feel like we found that perfect balance with this song. And this title had been sitting in my phone for, I want to say, probably around a year, up until the point where it had gotten written. And it's funny because I had Night Owl also as the title. So I was like, well, how am I going to make that work? Two opposite ends of the spectrum. And brought this idea up to Trini Anderson, Dallas Wilson, and Farron Rachel's in a Right One Day. And we kind of kicked it around as maybe originally an idea about just not being a morning person, which is absolutely me and very, on the nose to what I originally wrote the title as. But then I believe it was Tranny who kind of brought up the idea of, maybe it could be a love song. And so definitely was very hesitant about that at first because I wasn't quote unquote in love at the time that I wrote this song. And so I was like, how do you tap into those emotions? How do you get back into that moment where you are kind of experiencing that again? So for me, I kind of related it back to life at the moment and how I felt like everything was just kind of uh I want to say lining up in a way that I was super happy with. Like, things I felt like were finally rolling in the right direction, so to speak. And so I was able to kind of look at it from that perspective as well. But this song I just felt was super important because it marked kind of a new chapter, I guess, in music and for me. And I don't necessarily mean like sonically, so to speak, but just I think overall, just a new perspective, a new outlook on life. And I'm excited that we kind of got to kick it off on a super positive sappy song. But yeah, I'm just super happy with where life is at the moment, and I think it represents that perfectly and represents the love that I hope to find one day, and I'm sure a lot of other people as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see people responding well to it. It's a much more serious song than I feel like I do normally, but I definitely feel like we all have those moments. So I'm excited to get to share that.
Oh, that's so cool. I like hearing a little bit more of your serious side. That's cool.
Thank you.
And another single that you put out before that, one that I absolutely love, is Wrong Kind of Keeping Me Up. That song is
Yes.
really good. I don't know, for some reason it gets stuck in my head when I'm listening to it. It's pretty good.
Thank you so much for saying that. I think that's one of the reasons I was initially drawn to it as well, is because after we wrote it, I kept finding myself going back to it and singing it, and it's just like an earworm. So it's kind of the conversation, in my opinion, that happens right before morning person. Right before you find that person in morning person. Um, and it's just those hard conversations that you have to have in order to hopefully eventually get to the point where you have healthier communication with each other. So that's also kind of a more serious moment, I would say. But I also really loved both of these songs because we got to really dive in on production side of things and make it sound how we wanted, and just really create the song from top to bottom. And I got to write that on tour with Marcus King while I was out there with him. And Rocky Block, Jordan Dawsey, and Blake Pendergrass were all on that one as well. And I believe they had brought forth that idea and rolled with it. And we had that song in a matter of, I want to say, a couple of hours. So it was just one of those
Wow.
days. And it's one of those songs that, like you, I keep kind of going back to and just humming around the house and all the things. So I hope it does that for other people too and gets stuck in their head. That's all you can really hope for.
And so I have a music fan idea. I personally would like to see this song as a possible duet in the future. I think that would be
Ooh,
super interesting and cool.
with Braun kind of keeping me up.
Yes.
That would be kick ass. Yes, like the guy girl version.
Yep.
I love that idea. You'll have to give me recommendations on who you could envision singing the guy side.
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to it. I felt like the song was like, this would be interesting with a male vocalist in there as well. And I'm not, and to tell you the truth, I'm not normally like a huge duet person either. But I
For
was listening
sure.
to it, I was like, I think this might be interesting with a different version as well.
Well, I love that idea too, to be able to kind of catch maybe the male listeners, um, or like catch their perspective a little bit more in that song too. So, because I know it goes both ways, and it's not always the girl to the guy that's having this conversation. So, yeah, and that's always my hope with writing music. I try to keep it as down the middle in terms of using he, she, her, him, just because I hope that when people listen to it and they can sing along and not feel like they're kind of, singing to a certain person, they can really put themselves in those shoes. So love that idea. We're gonna have to talk more about that.
So I think you're currently on tour right now with Tucker Wetmore, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, about to get going with him next week. So very excited.
Oh, that's cool. So you're going to be going on tour, and I know you've been on tour with some pretty heavy hitters in the past, but we'll do a couple of questions on that. What was a tour that you probably had the most fun on?
Ooh, these are gonna be such hard questions.
Of course. I'm not asking the best. I'm just saying the most personal fun that you maybe had. Maybe
Okay,
too much
most
fun.
personal fun. Man, I will say, for the sake of it being my first tour, I really had so much fun on the Morgan Wallen tour. I think it was such fresh, young energy, and everybody was just kind of making the most of being on the road. And so that was definitely a fun moment within touring. I feel like within every tour, there's always been a moment where it's been like, oh, this is so much fun. But I would say Morgan, and then also, if I can give 2, I mean, for the music's sake, I would have to say, like, Cody Johnson. I have just thoroughly enjoyed being able to be in the presence of one of my favorite artists and listen to them play, and then also be able to sing, and I get so into the music listening to them, and that really goes for pretty much everybody, like I said, that I've toured with. But I have been listening to him for so long, back before radio. It was, I listened to him, I guess, when I was probably about the time that I was at Wendell's, because I was requesting him at Wendell's to be played for us to line dance to. So he's been such a long time inspiration for me, and I just love being able to go out there and line dance and sing along and watch them be amazing musicians every night. So, yeah, I don't know. It's such a hard decision.
So I got another question. So
Okay.
which tour were you maybe most nervous about or maybe most uncomfortable with playing? Maybe it was just the
Most
crowd or something. I don't know.
most nervous. Oh, I would say, and strictly for the sense that I had just been wearing their music out before I got to tour them, I would say Brothers Osborne, I was most nervous to tour with. Simply for the fact that they are just mind-blowingly good at what they do, and it makes you go like, "Am I even a real musician?" So it just came from a place, not they're amazing people, they're so kind, and everybody I've toured with has been so kind, and I'm so, so blessed. But yeah, they're just their musicality. I think I was super nervous to have to, like, open that show.
You listened to
But
it too much. You knew too much.
I knew too much. So, but yeah, I feel like I learned so much on each tour, and I felt like I was in a dream state with everyone.
So you do have a fan club, I think. What's the name of that fan club?
We are the train wrecks.
What was the name before that?
Well, originally, so this comes back from just like my gigging days as like just a teenager and a young adult, if you will. But we were the Ash Holes,
It's a
and
fantastic name.
it was it's great. I won't not claim the Ash Holes, because we're still the Ash Holes and the train wrecks technically. But it was just kind of hard to put on a t-shirt, if you know what I mean. So but I've had people make Ash Hole t-shirts and Ash Hole hats and train wreck t-shirts. They're just the best fans, and I'm excited to really dive back into, like, have more stuff to talk about up and coming, and really get that interaction going again, because I know they're always showing up for shows and making merch and making me feel loved. So definitely want to tap back into my train wrecks a little bit more.
So these next questions are what we close with and ask everyone. So first question, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Ooh, um, what would I tell my 21-year-old self? I would say trust your gut, trust in the plan God has for you. Um, Even when things don't look like they're going the way you thought. And just like it sounds so cheesy, but believe in who you are and trust that who you are is good enough.
I love it. That's a great answer.
Thanks.
All right,
I
next
still try
one.
to tell myself that every day. So it's a work
No,
in progress.
I liked it. I liked it. All right, so what are you drinking lately? And if you don't drink alcohol right now, it could be anything refreshing you like to drink.
Well, currently I'm drinking a Sonic Red Bull refresher, I think is what it's called. But my go-to drink, if it's like a bonfire night or just, something of that nature, it's gonna probably be a Busch Light or any beer for that matter. But for the most part, my go-to is usually a tequila soda lime, simply because I'm a sleepy gal at all times, and that is the only thing that will keep me up and alert.
So
Maybe mix a little bit of Red Bull in there sometimes too if I'm
there
getting
you go.
crazy.
So as you know, this is Rock Down South. So what is something, or maybe a couple things that come to mind, that you love about the South?
I love the slow living of the South. I would say is probably one of the things I feel like I've taken for granted now being in the bustling city of Nashville. But I just love how there's such a personable aspect down south, and people still wave to each other in the car, even if they don't know you. It just feels like home. It's home.
Hey, thank you so much, Ashland, for being part of the show today. Where can people find and connect with you online?
You can find me everywhere online, Instagram, Ashland Craft, YouTube, Ashland Craft Music, Facebook, Ashland Craft, all the things Ashland Craft. So would love for y'all to check it out. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. And anything coming out that you want to plug?
Yes, we got a new single coming out. We've been working really hard on a new honky tonk line dancing one for all my people. And it's called Right Damn Now. So it's a good live song that we've been playing out for a little bit. So I'm just excited to get it out there on the record.
Well, that'll be exciting.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thanks so much, everybody, for listening today. Y'all go check out rockdownsouth.com. Follow us so you can see announcements for new episodes and live concerts. And make sure to go give Ashland a follow and listen to her new music. And as always, I'm Mark, and you've been listening to Rock Down South. See y'all next time.